Okay, you may be wondering, let's see here. The Falcon 9 Heavy launched some time ago, and why didn't I release this video right away? And so I'm just going to give you the short of it, and that is a lot of people have a lot nicer equipment and a lot better locations and a lot more money than I have. So therefore, they had a lot better footage of the launch to release, and really probably much better footage to watch that you might want to see. So I decided that I would go into this from the direction of somebody who had never been into the area before, didn't really know what I was doing. When I started looking up locations, places to go to watch the launch, it was difficult to kind of get a good idea of what I was going into. So I decided to put this video together. So what you're watching here is us driving through or coming into a town called Titusville. And this town's been here for a long time. And truthfully, by the way, there across the water, you're seeing the launch tower that they used to launch the shuttles out of. And so the tower that the Falcon 9 Heavy launched out of was the tower that was used for the Apollo missions. Okay, moving on. So heading into Titusville here, I really just wanted to take you for a drive as we head into the town and show you it's really a sleepy town. So you might think that it would be a lot more populated. I thought that this would be a bigger city, a lot more development and stuff around here, and was surprised to see that there really wasn't. But then when I put some thought into it, I kind of realized that a lot of people have not followed launches now for a long time. SpaceX has given some excitement back to it. Actually, though, really, even in my own home, most people don't care about the SpaceX launches. Connor and I both do, and so that's the reason why we went along to see this. But most people that I talk to don't really even know what SpaceX is. They didn't really care about the shuttle launches. They don't really care to hear about when we walked on the moon. So this was kind of, I think, something that the interest in this has dwindled, and you can kind of tell it by the lack of growth in this area. So I did want to just take you along here and show you some of the little restaurants. The day that we were here for the Falcon 9 Heavy was an unusual day in that there was probably 100,000 people or more there for the launch, not just in the location we were in, but in many locations around the Space Center. That is unusual. I had people tell me when we got to our location where we were, and you'll see it here in a little bit, where we stayed to watch the launch. Many of the locals told me that it's usually pretty slow on launch days. There's not a lot of people around, so this was an unusual day, and it really was. I mean, this was a rocket. If you don't know much about the Falcon 9 Heavy, I believe it has 129,000 pounds of thrust. This is the biggest rocket since the Atlas, which is what they used to launch the Apollo missions up. I believe, though, thrust-wise, it has more thrust than what the Atlas rocket did at the time. But I could be wrong. I haven't studied up on this complete. The wonderful thing, though, too, about this rocket is that technically its core booster and then its secondary boosters, two of them on each side, are all feasibly supposed to be able to land as they've been doing with the other SpaceX rockets. Those, though, only have just the main, and so that core lands usually on the barge out in the ocean, or it lands here back at Kennedy Space Center. And so what was planned and what is planned for this launch was that the secondaries would both land back at Kennedy Space Center, and the core would land on a barge out in the ocean. So I'll just tell you up front that the two secondaries did land. They worked perfectly. And the core ran out of propellant, and so it crashed, actually damaging the barge. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, I think is what Meatloaf said. I know nobody even knows what meatloaf is. Meatloaf's a sandwich or something, or anyway. So He did get 2 out of 3 of the boosters back, and the third one did not land successfully. So for a first launch, this was pretty darn successful. For anybody who doesn't know, inside of this rocket were not astronauts, was not a payload other than Elon Musk, the founder of SpaceX, launched this $200,000 Tesla Roadster inside of it, a red Roadster, along with a mannequin in a suit called Spaceman. And I'll show you some pictures when we get to, actually, I'll just put those in here as we're kind of riding along, and you can see. And I did find it funny, the picture on the dash, it says, do not panic, or don't panic. Funny. So let's see here. So the deal with this was that it was supposed to go into an orbit around, I believe, between Mars and the Sun. At one point I'd heard it overshot that orbit of Mars and was going to land in an asteroid belt. But now I guess that's been rescinded some lately. And so the last thing that I heard about the Tesla Roadster is that it could come back and slam into Earth at some point. So there you go. Anyway, we continue to drive along here. I'm just kind of chatting. Maybe I'll speed through some of this, but I really wanted to just get you through a ride here that's not broken up in the video. Oh yeah, I did want you to see some of the locals and some people that come to see this launch are hilarious. This RV right here is really just an older RV, makeshift. He's got a screen porch with windows and a screen doorbell onto the back of it. And if you look there on the right-hand side, the door to the RV is wide open. And they are heading down the road, heading over to park for the launch. Most likely, they were parking right where we parked. That's the cool thing here. You can stop at a lot of the restaurants if you want and eat. If it's a slow day for a launch, it might be a good day. A couple of these restaurants have a balcony and stuff on the back of them to where you could sit across, eat some dinner, and watch the launch happen. It is spectacular, whether it's the Falcon 9 or the Falcon 9 Heavy. It's just a spectacular launch to see. So I would definitely say head up into Titusville, which is where we went. There are many other places you can get into Kennedy Space Center. For the launch that they did this day, they have a couple packages. One, I think, was just a spectator package, but you were close to the launch site. I think it was $150 for that. For $195 per person, you could do the launch package called Feel the Heat. And that puts you the closest that you're, I think, legally able to get as a spectator to see a rocket launch. Now, the thing about either one of those deals is if the launch is scrubbed, you do not get your money back. So you're at risk of losing the $150 or the $195. When it's a special launch like this, I think a lot of people are willing to take the risk. And speaking of that risk, now, we did arrive there at about 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning. And as you can see right now, traffic doesn't look all that bad. We did end up waiting all day long. They actually delayed the launch 3 times. And it looked like at one point we actually got down to the final opportunity to launch when they actually decided that they were going to go with it. Winds were high, and that was the reason why they contemplated scrubbing the launch. It wasn't the winds on the ground, but the winds when you get up into the range where they're going to start dropping the secondaries and the core rockets. And so that becomes dangerous at that point, I think, just trying to land them. I didn't study up on this completely. I know that there was a cube, something. Anyway, okay, they were coming up on the bridge. It is the Brewer Bridge. This is the location that we'll be at watching. So you'll see people along the way here that are already lined up and gaining their spot to actually watch the launch happen.
I can answer your question.
Okay, here, Connor, the expert.
Yeah, so it's called Max Q. It's where the maximum pressure buildup is on the Earth just before you break through the atmosphere. And so they were afraid that with winds being up there at the maximum pressure, that it could cause an explosion, or it could cause it to topple over and then shoot off in a completely different direction, or bounce off the atmosphere and head back towards Earth.
Okay, there you go. Straight from the expert. He was studying this as we sat on the bridge for literally 6 hours in a constant constant wind. So yeah, if you don't want to be in the sun for that long, or you don't want to deal with a constant wind, then this may not be your location. But it is free. As you'll see when we get to the bottom of the bridge here, parking was right at the base of the bridge. Remember, this is early in the morning, and I will throw some pictures in of what this looks like later, before launch. Let's say maybe 3 hours before launch. The road was basically impassable at a lot of points, and so we watched traffic just sit there waiting. So we turn in here into this lot, and there's a Spectrum sports truck. What we did here then was just took a quick right and then did a U-turn and parked about 10 feet behind this stop sign that you see in front of us. So anyway, that is free parking. It was right there at the base of the bridge. But if you're going to do this, you want to get there early. Just keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to take you on a walk up the bridge here. I kind of wanted you to get an idea of what this is like. I don't know if that's Connor's finger or my finger in the way. I forget who was holding the camera on the way up, but doesn't matter. It was early in the morning. We were tired, and we were about to make the trek up this bridge. You did see, I hope you saw too, and maybe I'll take a screenshot of it and stick it back in here again, what this bridge looks like from a distance. It was in the video, but I will grab a screenshot and stick it in here as we're walking up the bridge. So this is not an impossible trek to make it up the bridge. The cool thing that we found as we were walking up the way here is people have tables set up. It's kind of a wide walkway. Let's say maybe 5 feet. Has to be at least 5 feet walkway up the bridge. And so you can easily, some people had these narrow tables they set up. They sat and played cards and brought along a lunch and did stuff like that while they just waited for the launch. So it was a nice, relaxing time for them. All right, this is us now when we're clear up at our final location, where we're going to watch the launch from. This is almost at the very peak of the bridge. Technically, I wanted to leave the peak, and I know this probably doesn't mean anything to anybody, but I did want to leave the peak of the bridge for maybe people who had really nice camera equipment. That is not who ended up there. A lot of families just kind of gathered and talked and laughed, and Ice Cream Man showed up at one point and sold ice cream. And it was funny because the police were always trying to clear the lane. There's kind of a bicycle lane and then the lanes on each side of the bridge, and the police were always having to clear people off of those lanes. And but at one point, the ice cream man hurried up and pulled in there. That guy probably sold $500 worth of ice cream before the policeman came along. And everybody said, boo, joking with him that he had ended their ice cream trek. But he kind of laughed it off, and so did everybody before it was done. And he said, what are you booing? You've already got your ice cream. So, Anyway, I shot a few views here of what it looks like. It is absolutely a gorgeous view to just sit up there and relax and wait for the launch. This here is a couple pictures of what the traffic looked like as it began to back up. There were times when people sat on this bridge for 30 minutes straight without moving, just trying to get down into there. So I'm going to tell you again, if you do choose this as your launch site, it's a great place. There are beaches and stuff around each side of this, but they're lower, and so it's hard for you to get a good shot or see the rocket when you're basically at ground level with it. So if you come up on the bridge, get up here high, you can easily see the launch that's going on. Okay, so anyway, I think I've got some quick video here. Yeah, that's just to kind of give you another idea of what the traffic looked like. So don't wait, guys. Truthfully, and you might be able to get by with it on a lot of slow launch days and not be there so early. But yeah, just be forewarned. If you're going into Titusville and you're going to come up on the Brewer Bridge, just be prepared that it could get busy. So let's see here. I'm trying to see what else I've got. Okay, I've got some video here of when you start to see this helicopter in the air. This is what we noticed. It begins circling the perimeter, clearing basically the airspace and looking for stuff on the ground. They're going to launch. As soon as the decision was made to launch, we saw this helicopter begin flying around. So yeah, just know that. So let's just get you into the launch. So I can talk through this. I'm going to try to find some music, put over this, and you can kind of get a good idea what the launch looked like, the distance that we are. I can zoom some from here, but not a lot. You are, I believe, 7 miles or 11 miles out. Can't remember which one it was. We were kind of discussing that. We were up on the bridge. So anyway, enjoy the launch. I will come back around here quickly. I'll kind of edit this out, and you can see the secondary boosters coming back in to land. It was a beautiful thing to happen. First time I've ever been to a launch. So if you haven't been and you make it to anywhere into this area, into the Florida area, try to go and see it. So